Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, I want to go over kind of my thoughts on Arachne with the new card, Coercive Tendency, as well as my card, Graven's Call. And it's kind of give you where my head's at with the deck, what I think will change, at least initially for me, day one. This isn't necessarily like a deck tech, right? This isn't to say like run this day one. It's really just to give you some thoughts. Talk about some maybe cards I have in the deck as well, and just give my overall, mindset when it comes to Arachne once Heavy Hitters comes out, because we're still 2 months away. So there's going to be a lot of testing. I'm going to give updates to this as time goes on, but I do feel like a couple more people are going to be looking at the hero now with this really cool power card, and Icelander leaving the format and stuff like that. So I wanted to get this out just to give someone a starting point if you've never played Assassin before and things of that nature. So this may be a little bit longer. You can skip. I'll put timestamps down below, but I'm going to go card by card because I'm going to kind of play this as if someone has never played Arachne before and kind of talk about my deck choices. Some things that are missing, some things that aren't. So this will be a good, kind of fun, decent sized video for you all. But yeah, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much as always. Like I said, and I've said in the last couple of videos, I normally never use sub goals, but we are literally 100 away at the time of recording this video from 3,000, which is insane. I did not think I was going to hit it this year. I'm now striving to hit it this year, and if we continue the way we are, I should hit it. And I'm going to do some playmat giveaways. If I can find some cool card giveaways to do, I'll do that as well. I got to look through my Ninja binder and stuff like that. I have some extra like Shriek Razors and stuff, so I might use those. Maybe even my singular Codex of Frailty I have that's extra. But yeah, we'll get right into it. Thank you all so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it. But yeah, this is the Arachne deck I'm on right now. I made this deck in the open format, so like this is my current deck that I'm like playing in Talishar because I can't play Coercive Tendency in there yet, so this Conceal Blade represents Coercive Tendency for me. However, the exact same deck's here in this open format one with the new card shown. So for really quick, just for everybody's sake, my card that got spoiled, Graven Call. This card originally people thought was broken. I will super simplify this. What people thought you could potentially do is if you empty your weapon slots via cash out or via flick knives, and then this is engrave, people thought that if, let's say you generated 6 silver, you could activate this. Activate Graven Call once to put it in a weapon slot, but before it fully resolves, activate it again and again, as long as you have the silver to pay for it, and it would basically bounce between your weapon slots and gain additional counters in the process. The head judge of LSS, Moonlight, in the Discord disproved this, and you cannot do that. They're going to update it in a rules reprise so people will understand later on, but yeah. Card's not as insane as you thought it would be. I just want to kind of give that craziness a little bit of light here as we kind of go in the deck. But, so, Arachne. Most people have been playing Arachne pretty much full fatigue, right? There are some elements of it where you can kind of fatigue by threats or fatigue by blocks, right? You kind of have to weigh that decision point. Whenever you play a top card with Contract, you may look at the top card of your opponent's deck, you may put it on the bottom. So there's a lot of skill expression with, do I bomb this card, right? Is this card going to make me a silver? Okay, do I want to keep it on top? Can they block me out? Do I have a way of guaranteeing my hit, right? If it's going to make silver, if I'm playing a Phi who normally doesn't want to block, I can maybe more safely keep this on deck. But even though if I'm playing a Bravo, right, and I show a Showtime and I'm attacking with Slay the Scholars, yes, that'll make silver, but like, should I keep it on top? If they block this out, do I want them to have a Showtime where they can go fetch a power card, stuff like that? So there's a lot of skill expression, but being able to bottom your opponent's power cards and they don't see them till later when you've, depleted a lot of their threats index so their power cards aren't as impactful is really, really good, right? So the new card, Coercive Tendency, that came up, and I want to talk about this card for a second because it's going to make a lot of sense with some of my deck choices. This card is absolutely insane. I have played a couple games in paper with this, proxying it this weekend, and then I'm just messing with it with some buddies and kind of talking through the card. This card's insane. I could do a whole video on just this card. Dice Commando did an amazing job. Go check out his spoiler video on it. But you look at the top 3 cards of the Defending Heroes deck. So after you attack, it's an attack reaction. Put them back in any order, then automatically banish the top card of their deck, right? Doesn't have to hit, nothing. Just banish. If you complete a contract this way, your assassin attacks get go again, this combat chain. So if you play a Leave No Witness against a Dromai, right, and you show a red card, because they're all going to be red cards mostly, and you banish it, the rest of your cards, whether you hit or not, get go again. Insanely powerful. It allows Arachne to do a couple things, right? At the height, at the Merry Christmas Land, which really isn't that hard, but at its height, you'll be able to have these crazy 4-go wide turns where you play Coercive from Arsenal and you're able to hit with like 3 or 4 contract cards, dealing like 12 to 16 damage and threatening to banish like 5 to 10 cards. Like the stereotypical line that I'm giving people right now is you have Coercive in Arsenal, and your hand is like Leave No Witness, Plunder the Poor, Slay the Scholars, and Eradicate. And you have Tunic up, right? So you play Leave No Witnesses, let's just say on a Dromai, whether they block or not, doesn't matter. You play this, you just pick whatever red that's on the top 3 of their deck, you banish it, gain go again for Leave No Witness, and then you play Plunder the Poor into Slay the Scholars, Tunic into Eradicate, right? So you just did 16 damage, you're threatening minimum with Mask of Perdition and with Court. So on the first attack, let's just say they didn't block, or let's say they did block everything except for the Eradicate because they might not have enough cards. You banish one with Coercive Tendency. Leave No Witness doesn't hit. Even if Plunder the Poor and Slay don't hit, now you have Eradicate, which is threatening to banish 4, and your Mask. So you're probably minimum on that type of turn, threatening 12 to 16 damage, while also banishing anywhere from 3 to 4 cards at a minimum, up to like, if everything hit for some reason, even just 1 damage. If your Leave No Witness hit, your Plunder the Poor hit, your Slay the Scholars hit, and your Eradicate hit fully, that right there is 7 cards, plus the Arsenal 8 cards, plus Coercive Tendency is 9 cards, and then your Mask is 10 cards. So, I mean, yes, that's a lot of ifs, but the one thing that's not an if is if you can even find 1 card to generate silver, then all those cards could go again no matter what, right? At its worst, at its very floor, this card, its technical floor is a blue block 3, right? Which is good in Arachne, but its very floor in an offensive set is I get to target banish a card from the top of your deck, from the top 3 cards of your deck, any card I choose, which could be a power card, could be a card that gets you silver, whatever the case may be, and I get to know, I have info on what half of your next hand is, right? Even though they're on defense, when they play all their stuff and they draw up, I know half of their hand. It's a really, really big inclusion. So what does that mean for this deck? This deck can go a little bit wider now. It can have a little bit more power turns. It also can enable its fatigue strategy a little bit more by being able to target banish a lot quicker and potentially, like yesterday, I was playing a tabletop game with one of our buddies here that's a local, and I literally just played I Spider Bite into Annihilate the Armed yellow. They only blocked 2 because they wanted to try to keep their hand. I played this in the reaction step. I didn't have any other cards in hand, and I was able to banish 1 off Coercive and 1 off the Annihilate the Armed, and then the Mask can make 3. So off a single Annihilate the Armed, it can banish the top 3 cards of their deck, right? I forgot to pop Mask in that situation for some stupid reason. I thought they might have a D-React. I don't know why. But regardless, off an Annihilate the Armed, popping, banishing 3 cards off the top of the deck and making 2 to 3 silvers. Pretty nuts. So one thing I've been toying with, so we'll talk about the stuff that doesn't change. We'll talk about equipment first, right? So for all you people out there, the normal equipment suite is Black Tech Whisperers at the boots. Your chest piece is Tunic. Your arms are Flick Knives, and your mask or head is Mask of Perdition. What has kind of changed for me is, 1, Flick Knives and Street Grazers, I have both on the list. Since I'm not running Graven Call, if I'm in a fatigue matchup or a slower matchup where they're going to be blocking a lot, I'm going to run Flick Knives, A, to help me maybe in a key nerve scalpel play if they're trying to do a defense reaction on me, and B, to help me close out a game at the end of the game, right? If I'm running an aggro matchup, I like to run Street Grazers, because the problem with running Flick Knives in an aggro matchup is you don't want to block with this card most of the time because you want to use it for something, right? Typically. And then if you don't want to use its ability, you're just going to use it for block, then its ability is kind of wasted on maybe a key play. So I like just using Street Grazers because I don't have to try to think about if I want to hold it or not for a key block or key use case. I just block with it because it's not going to die, and I possibly could bring it back because you tend, in the aggro matchups being Fi, Katsu, and even potentially Dromai, you tend to make a little bit more silver. Yes, you play for Fatigue and Dromai, but you have a higher chance of making silver just because a lot of your contract cards line up with what's in their decks. So Because of that, I switch between the two. When it comes to the daggers, I have Nerve Scalpel, Spire's Bite, and Orbit. I like Orbit because I think we're about to have a lot of warriors in the meta potentially, and even other big decks that do have a lot of good non-attack action cards, and even Kano might be an issue as well. So being able to have that can help. And then Nerve Scalpel, obviously. My main board daggers are Nerve Scalpel and Spire's Bite, and then I bring in Orbit where non-attack actions against Dorinthia, against even other assassins. Sometimes I'll bring it in because they want to block with like shreds and stuff like that. It all depends. For AB, right now I'm cheating on AB. All I have is AB1. That's all I need right now. Kano, you're racing them down anyway. You're not playing for fatigue. You can't. You'll lose. So I'm only running AB1 to them. Icelander is now Living Legend as of Friday. And against Rune Blades, I run AB1, right? So that's where I'm at with the equipment. The one spicy thing I have in here right now is Snapdragon Scalers. So I'm taking a page out of the Uziri book with Arachne. I think it's okay to at least test it and try it. Against decks that do want to block, I'm going to run Snapdragon Scalers, right? That one block, you typically aren't going to make a ton of silver in those matchups that are really good at blocking you out. So that one block is not going to recur a whole lot. I would rather have Snapdragon Scalers where if I don't have Coercive Tendency, I can string together two really good attacks, right? Like if I have a Leave No Witness, a blue, and Command and Conquer with like Tunic up, like being able to do, Spire's Bite, one floating into Leave No Witness, they block it out, right? Snap it, use your Tunic, play Command and Conquer, right? Now, it's not world ending, but it can help you string together a really key attack when you're trying to get some serious on-hits. It also allows you to do plays where you need to go wide, potentially like Enlightened Strike, draw a card, and then you snap and then do something else. Usually in matchups that do want to block, I need to be able to use Snapdragon Scalers effectively to push through a little bit of damage and push some key on-hits late in the chain. Against matchups that don't want to block, I'll just use Black Tech Whisperers, right? Fi, Katsu, those type of matchups that are really aggro-based, I'll just use Black Tech Whisperers because I can get them back very easily. So it all depends, and that way I can use my silver. And in those matchups, I want to use my silver to get Mask Compare Edition back, or not Mask Compare Edition. I want to use my silver to get Black Tech Whisperers back, whereas in this matchup, in the more fatigue matchups, I kind of want to be able to try to fish and get their power cards and be able to use buyback Mask Compare Edition more than the boots. So that's where I'm at with the equipment. When it comes to power cards, Already Dead, it's a fantastic card in Arakni. This is so good. A lot of people are going to run D-Reacts into you if they have them in their list, so this generates more silver than you think it does. It's still not like a key silver generator as opposed to most, but it's still really good. And it's a 6 power, it's a popper. It does everything you want to do. And when on a 3-card hand, 3-card 9 is on rate with a Cut to the Chase, Already Dead, and a blue. But, if you have Tunic up, like doing Spire's Bite and Tunic into this, and then Cut to the Chase, you have a 3-card 10 with an on-hit, potentially banishing a card, maybe 2 if you pop Mass. So that's really nice. Annihilate the Armed. I did have a 9 of this, but I have since changed it and put back Enlightened Strike because in this deck, I want to go a little bit wider. There's a couple decks where I want to have a little bit more agency in going wide. I'm running things like Hurl and things like Razor Reflex, which I'll talk about here in a second, to be able to help me go a little bit wider in some of the matchups I need it. So I end up putting Lightning Strike back in. But Annihilate the Armed is one of the best you can have for silver generation. When it comes to silver percentage chance, usually Plunder the Poor and right now in our meta right now is the best option for making silver. The next best option is Annihilate the Armed usually, or Leave No Witnesses. They're kind of like hand in hand. And then finally, you have like Slay the Scholars and Surgical Extraction. And then Eradicate is a little bit wonky with making silver. It's not as popular. But I did have 9. I now have 6 because I put Enlightened Strike back in the deck. Command and Conquer, card's good. Not much to say there. Cut to the Chase, I did have reds and blues. I switched out the blues for the new power card, so a little bit less reaction-based. Right now I have 3, technically 6. Where's my yellow shreds? Right here, 6 and 7, 8 reactions in the deck, so not as much. But Shred is going to become, I think, a little bit more of a liability in the upcoming meta unless Heavy Hitters really shakes things up. You're going to see a lot of Fi, a lot of Katsu. You're going to see a lot of Ninja. And you're even going to see a lot of Dromai. And they might not always care about blocking either if they have power turns. So And that matchup is abysmal anyway. So Shred is in the sideboard right now, and I only have yellows because I've found in aggro matchups this card sucks. It literally gets stuck in your arsenal half the time, and the other half of the time it's not as useful as you would think. So I'd rather go wide. Leave No Witnesses is another good one. Enlightened Strike's a really good one, obviously. Super high value cards. Plunder the Poor and Slay of Scholars are just your really consistent 0 for 4 contract cards, and off a Coercive Tendency, being able to go like, Plunder, Coercive, another Plunder, 0-4, go again. Slay a Scholar, 0-4, go again, right? And then you end on, anything that you're allowed to end on that you have the resources for. And remember, Coercive gives all assassin attacks go again, this combat chain. So if you have a Death Touch in Arsenal, you can use that. This one of Death Touch is so interesting. I use it sometimes, and then other times there's like 5-6 games where I don't even touch it. I want to block with this early and then use it as a Codex target. But it's so hard sometimes to have that always work out the way you want it to. When it comes to D-Reacts, I do not have Fate for seeing the list anymore, only Sink Below. If we ever get to the point where I think I need 0 for 4s, I'll put more in. But in this upcoming meta, I don't think Bravo is really the only one you really care about. Dorinthia, you can have stuff like Oasis and Codex to hurt with them with frailties and, or just, kind of blocking them efficiently. So if Dorinthia Warrior became really, really important, maybe I swap those back in. But right now, in the current meta as I see it, I don't need Fates. Codex and Eradicate are very good. Eradicate, I think stock's going to go a lot more up with Coercive Tendency because I think this is your best chain ender on Coercive on like those big go wide turns, even if it's just like 2. Let's just say you have a 3-card hand with Tunic up and you go, Plunder the Poor, play Coercive, banish a 1 cost or less, give it go again, Tunic, Eradicate, right? You don't have to burn your boots or your Snapdragon Scalers, whichever one you're using, and you just did off a 3-card hand, 8 damage, potentially banishing 6 cards, which is pretty significant, right? 4 from Eradicate, 1 from Plunder, that's 5 or 7 cards, 1 from Coercive, and 1 from your Mask, potentially, right? So really, really good. Surgical, insanely good card. The inventory, the sideboard is very fluid, right? Right now I am teching for Ninja, and I am teching for a little bit of Bravo, honestly, and but mainly Ninja, and some of the more aggro matchups I think we're going to see, and even a little bit of Azalea. So I have a race face in here. It's mainly actually for Fi. I think we're going to see a ton of Fi post Icelander because Fi now is unlocked because Fi can run like 9 blues and not be punished for it. So it's really good against Fi because it tells them they don't have Draconic Chain Links anymore, which can be really, really useful. It's also a popper in a Dromai. It's really actually good in the mech as well. It like literally turns off boost. So if we see more Dash IO, more Max, stuff like that, now people are starting to figure those decks out. Frailty Trap's really good into the ninjas. It turns off their Kodachis. It hurts Azalea. It hurts a lot of good heroes in the meta right now. And I see it being very, very useful. Hurl I have for the more aggro matchups. So as you can see, I have a 49 card main board. I usually put Hurl in against some of the aggro matchups when I want to go a little more wide, right? Like you can't, if they hit decent power turns, you can't fully block out Fi. You just can't. He's going to kill you. He's literally going to kill you. You have to try to kill him as well, right? It's just push and pull a little bit, right? So being able to do like Hurl into Plunder, stuff like 2-card 7s isn't too bad. It's a little bit above rate. And just being able to also threaten to banish. You block with 2 cards, attack with 2 cards. It's not world ending, but we need to go a little bit more wider. And in the Dromai matchup, it does help having this, having Coercive and having Enlightened Strike can help. I've even thought about putting Give and Take in the list, but it's still a little bit, that card sometimes sucks in my opinion if people just say, all right, I'm not going to block it, because people don't care the fact that you're dealing 3 damage to them as Arachne. They really don't, unless it's super, super late game. So Oasis is mainly for Bravo, really good against Azalea, really good against Dash with the pistol. It's good against Uziri in the mirror. It has a lot of use cases. So really liking this card. And it's obviously if you run to a Kano and get unlucky, try to park one of these in Arsenal and just wait for them to pop off and hopefully you survive. And then Razor. I've noticed a couple high-performing Arachne lists, like the 8-4 Melbourne list and the top 8 Toulouse list, I think. Maybe I don't know if they ran, but the 8-4 Melbourne list did, where they ran 2 Razors. And I really like this in the aggro matchups. Being able to, like, Arachne sometimes has a hard time with action points, right? Obviously. This combined with Coercive will help you go wide, I think, pretty consistently. Like this Hurl and Lightning Strike and Coercive will allow you to race them down a little bit more. Being able to have those, double contract turns, that is like, I've had turns even with Razor where I've gone Plunder the Poor, I play Cut to the Chase on top of it, I pop my boots, giving it go again, I have Tunic up, and then I play like another 0 for 4, like Leave No Witness, Tunic, Razor. I just did 14 damage on 4 cards, and I potentially banished 2 cards off top of their deck, and I banished their arsenal, right? That's really, really good. That's technically above rate, right? 3, if 3 value is your standard per card, it's above rate. So really, really good for that. Sigil, I actually put these back in the list solely for Ninja, because I know Ninja has on-hit effects, but like what I love doing when they try to like Kadachi you and force out a block, you just Sigil. And it's like, okay, you Kadachi me twice, I gained a life. Now what can you do? You know what I mean? Or there's times where your opponent, just because of your on hits and they have to block you out, they have a suboptimal turn, and you play Sigil, and then you block with like a sink, and then off 2 cards you block their entire attack, or like maybe dealt 2 damage, right? And you gain 3. So you blocked with 2 cards and gained a life. And then your 2 card hand is, Pitch Blue, Spider's Bite, Activate Tunic, Command and Conquer. And you start just outvaluing your opponent. So it's really, really good for that. To remember, this is mainly for the Jeremiah plan. I also put this in against Dorinthia and Uziri, but it's also for Jeremiah to cycle my poppers back. Right now I have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 poppers, which is about the standard for Arachne for the most part. And then finally Shred. If we have matchups like Bravo or even Jeremiah that do want to block a little bit more, Shred's good. But against Ninja, Shred is just so bad. It does not work very well. Blue Shred wasn't bad because you could block with it and pitch it. But Yellow Shred is literally the most dead card in the deck against Ninjas, in my opinion. So I only run it against decks that do want to block. If they don't want to block, I run Razor. If they do want to block, I run Shred. But that's kind of where I'm at. Some other cards I'm thinking about. This round's on me might be really good in a Ninja. We'll see. From a Ninja player myself, I don't always hate this card. Like, yes, it turns, as a Katsu player, right? It turns off my Kadachis, which does suck. But if I'm going to hit you with if I have like a Surging Strike, a Descendant in hand, and a Bonds and Arsenal, and this round's on Mimi, and you give me another card, and I still hit a Pop Heart and Cross Trap, and I still hit you for 4, 4, 3, 4, and something else, like, it's not going to do that much. I'm still doing 15 plus damage to you. Wow, you saved 4 points of damage, but I'm still going to take tempo, right? It doesn't always work out the way you think it does, because you take away 2 value from my Kadachis and potentially like 2 or 3 value in the hand, but you also give me a whole other card. And sometimes with Katsu, especially Katsu, giving me one more card can completely change the game. And Fi, you just made his 16 damage hand, 12 damage hand. Wow, that doesn't really do much. Yellow Annihilate the Armed is another one. And Lightning Strike will go out if I feel like I don't have to be as wide and I want to just have a lot of contract density for Coercive. Because right now I want this card to be as consistent as possible. And right now we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30 contract cards. However, if you don't count the 0 for 2 blues, because they're no breakpoint at all, you basically have 24 good contract cards. I count Annihilate as a good contract card because you can like Spider's Bite into this, which creates a breakpoint because their 3 blocks are now 2 blocks if it's an attack action. But other than that, that's where I'm at with the list. It's super fun. Like I said, some of the kind of spice is I'm trying Snapdragon Scalers just to try to go a little more wide, because I think we're gonna have to in the Ninja matchups a little bit more. You could just play for straight fatigue, but I want to have a little bit more proactivity because I haven't lost any block value. Or not in Ninjas. I want to run this in cards in decks that don't want to block, because I think some decks of Arachne gets more powerful. Sorry, brain fart. And this Assassin in general gets more prominent with all the ninjas running around. I think you could see more decks just bring in more block value, or have more block value decks with like Warrior and stuff like that. So I want to try that out. Yeah, other than that, I'm happy with where the list is at so far. Not doing too bad with it. Just still trying things out. I'll give you updates as I play this. Once they code it in a Talishar, I'll get a lot more games with the new card, not just like paper proxy games, and kind of give you my thoughts. But yeah, this isn't necessarily a deck profile. Don't take this as run this day one. This is more of my just general thoughts on, where my head's at with the deck. It's not too much changed. It's really just play lines and opportunities now have changed more so than the cards in the deck. But I am excited to see if someone thinks of like some super aggro deck with Coercive to try to be a little more tempo based and not fatigue based. But I think Arachne still at their core is a fatigue deck, whether by threats or by blocks. So yeah, let me know what you think about it. I really appreciate the feedback. Any assassin connoisseurs out there, let me know what your thoughts are. If you're new to the channel, if you're new to the class, welcome. Hopefully this gives you a good starting point. And yeah, thank y'all so much. And I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. If not, it's fine. Go to our Flesh Mode Creator, leave a like, comment, subscribe on their stuff so we can go more people seeing this game. And I'll see y'all next time.